These are the craziest moments celebrities have ever surprised their biggest fans.
Difficult for you at first.
But I still don't understand him.
But as the video goes on, the surprises get bigger and more emotional. First up, one rock legend accidentally got a grandmother on the hook for buying her granddaughter a car.
The attitude, your spunk, everything.
I'm sorry, did I scare you?
With ornaments.
Excuse me. I was wondering if I could actually grab my...
A few minutes later, you'll see the gift that made a Navy veteran collapse on the pavement, and the story that no matter how many times I watched it, I couldn't get through without tearing up. Let's get into it. It all started at a Paul McCartney concert in 2016.
And where's Mom? Right there. Come on, Mom. I'm saying nothing. And what's your name, Mom?
My name is Helen.
Helen?
Yes.
Helen Williams, okay.
60-something-year-old Betty Ann Allen had been in love with the Beatles since she saw them play Cincinnati in 1964. And on this night, she brought her 16-year-old granddaughter Emily to her first ever McCartney show. Betty Ann had made Emily a deal. If Paul signed Emily's arm cast, Grandma would buy her a brand new Chevy Cruze. Slam dunk promise, right? There's no way Paul actually calls her granddaughter up in a stadium full of people. Except he did. He signed the cast, then turned to Emily in front of the entire stadium and said into his microphone, "There's your car." Paul McCartney just put her grandma on blast in front of 40,000 people. Emily got the Chevy Cruze. Betty Ann had to pay up. Brutal. But making a grandmother financially ruin herself is nothing compared to what Cristiano Ronaldo did in 2015.
You can't say that often enough about yourself, of course.
But it's true.
Yeah.
So I did.
No, it is true. I know.
Ronaldo wanted to prove something, so he put on a fat suit, a fake beard, a wig, and some dark sunglasses. And he walked into a busy plaza in Madrid with a soccer ball. For an entire hour, he did kick-ups, asking strangers to play with him. Nobody would. They all walked right past one of the greatest footballers on the planet, until one little boy named Nicholas stopped. They kicked the ball back and forth for a minute. Then Ronaldo picked up the ball, signed it, and slowly peeled off the beard. Within seconds, a mob of people who had just ignored him swarmed the plaza. Nicholas's jaw was on the floor, and all those strangers got to watch the one kid who gave Ronaldo the time of day walk away with a signed ball. And speaking of celebrities showing up where nobody expects them, we gotta talk about Tom Hanks. In 2016, a couple was taking their wedding photos in Central Park. Normal photo shoot. Until a guy in a sweatshirt and shorts came jogging past them, stopped, walked over, took off his baseball cap, introduced himself, and kissed the bride's hand. It was Tom Hanks. Actual Tom Hanks, on his jog, who decided to derail their entire wedding album. The bride is wide-eyed, hands over her mouth, going through every stage of shock in real time. No PR team, no production, just Tom Hanks deciding he had 30 seconds to make someone's wedding day objectively better. But if a random jog-by was enough to wreck a wedding, imagine opening your front door to find Harry Styles. That's exactly what happened in Brooklyn in May 2022. Harry was shooting the music video for his song Daylight. Budget? $300. Plan? Knock on random doors and find a fan. He and James Corden found 4 girls in a cramped Brooklyn apartment and completely took over. Raided the closets for wardrobe. Used the kitchen and bedrooms as set pieces. At one point, they hid the girls in the bathroom to film a shot. Those 4 girls spent the afternoon hyperventilating while Harry Styles lounged on their beds. That's how the official music video got made, with real fans who genuinely thought they were being pranked. And rock legends seem to love these moments. At a Springsteen concert at Anfield Stadium in 2024, Bruce spotted a young girl in the crowd holding up a harmonica. She'd brought it just hoping he might notice, so he pulled her up on stage in front of tens of thousands of people. He strummed his acoustic guitar. She played the harmonica directly into his microphone, and she didn't miss a beat. Just this tiny kid playing alongside a rock legend at one of the biggest stadiums in England like it was the most normal thing in the world. Springsteen has been doing this for 50 years and he still finds a way to hand the spotlight to a kid And sometimes rock legends don't even have to be there in person. In 2025, a 10-year-old kid named J8KE went viral. 16 million views viral. He was at a music festival, walked up to a band mid-set, and asked if he could play guitar with them on Pink Floyd's Comfortably Numb. They let him. He absolutely shredded it. Internet broke. A few weeks later, J8KE was sitting on a daytime talk show discussing his new fame, and the host had a surprise. A personal video message from his #1 idol, Slash, of Guns N' Roses. This 10-year-old is sitting in a studio watching one of the greatest rock guitarists ever tell him by name how good he is. And he just went silent, eyes wide, trying to process the fact that Slash knows who he is. Man, that's a core memory. But there's a lot more coming. Like the time Lady Gaga secretly substitute taught a middle school and gave them a $2 million surprise. The time Shaq paid for a stranger's engagement ring. The moment Ozzy Osbourne stopped an entire arena for a dying 8-year-old. And the most devastating fan surprise ever caught on camera at the very end. But first, we gotta talk about what Lady Gaga pulled off in 2017. Gaga teamed up with a bunch of education charities. The plan? Walk into a middle school classroom full of underfunded public school kids and pretend to be the substitute teacher for the day. She sits on the edge of the desk, looks at all these stunned kids and asks, "What is your future and what does it look like?" The kids are losing it, gasping, jaws on the floor. Then the real kicker drops. Gaga doesn't just show up, she announces a $2 million donation on the spot, which flash funded 890 school projects in Chicago alone. The woman walked into a classroom and funded nearly 900 school projects in one afternoon. But Gaga isn't the only one who knows how to crash an event. In April 2019, a couple named Jason and Kate were getting married in a Vegas chapel. Both serve in the Colorado Air Force. During the ceremony, a video screen suddenly interrupted their vows. It was Jimmy Kimmel broadcasting live. He asked if they'd hired a wedding singer, and then the chapel doors opened. Celine Dion walked in and started singing Because You Loved Me, live, for their first dance. They hadn't even said their vows yet, and now Celine Dion was serenading them from 4 feet away. The couple stunned, holding back tears, guests screaming. They get to slow dance to Celine Dion 10 feet away from her. Unreal. And if crashing a wedding is one level of elite, let's talk about the time Adele crashed her own impersonator contest. 2015. Adele works with Graham Norton and shows up to an Adele tribute audition. Prosthetic nose, fake chin, altered voice, calls herself Jenny. She sits backstage with a room full of professional Adele impersonators who've made entire careers out of sounding like her. And they don't recognize her. They start telling Jenny how nervous they are. Then it's her turn. She walks on stage, misses her first cue on purpose, then opens her mouth and sings Make You Feel My Love perfectly, the real voice. And slowly, one by one, the impersonators figure out what's happening, jaws dropping, tears welling up, some of them singing along realizing they're watching the actual Adele, cold-blooded. But that's still an orchestrated surprise. What Shaquille O'Neal did was completely unplanned. April 2021. Shaq is at an Atlanta jewelry store picking up some earrings, and he notices a young guy at the counter asking about payment plans for an engagement ring. The kid clearly can't afford it outright. So Shaq, without saying a word, walks over, pulls out his credit card and pays off the entire ring. Full price. Shakes the guy's hand and walks out. No cameras, just blurry security footage and a phone video somebody else caught. Shaq later explained his whole philosophy in one sentence on TV. Quote, "Whenever I leave the house, I just try to do a good deed. That's the rule. Legend." And Post Malone is running the same playbook. Christmas Eve 2024. He's at a bar in Houston called The Rail Yard, prepping for his Christmas Day halftime show. Fans start sending him drinks on their tabs. Post wants to return the favor with a tip. Problem is, he doesn't have a tab. So he asks his bartender, a single mom named Renee Brown, to ring him up for a $1 charge. She does it. The night ends. She closes her drawer and checks the receipt. Post Malone has written in a $20,000 tip, 20 grand, on a $1 charge. Renee called it a life-changing gift. She's working 2 jobs and homeschooling her daughter, and Post walked in, bought a $1 drink, and changed her entire year. But sometimes these surprises happen because an athlete refuses to ignore a fan. 2024 Inter Miami versus New York Red Bulls. Lionel Messi just scored a record-setting brace, qualified Miami for the playoffs, and he's heading down the tunnel, surrounded by security, crowd going wild, and he spots a young girl in a wheelchair waiting by the tunnel holding out a jersey. Messi breaks off from his security detail, walks over, signs the jersey, hands it to her. Nobody asked him to. A bystander filmed it, and in a world where elite athletes are wrapped in 5 layers of PR, Messi just walks over because a kid waited for him. Man, that's the GOAT. But nobody in Hollywood has done this more than John Cena. This dude has granted over 650 Make-A-Wish requests. 650, the most of any celebrity in history. By a margin of over 300 wishes. He's not even close to second place. And Cena has a strict rule. If a wish comes in, he says yes. Period. He drops Hollywood shoots, drops wrestling gigs, visits pediatric wards, brings kids backstage, hands them his championship belt, spends hours sitting with them. In interviews, he's talked about how many of these kids don't make it. He said reading the follow-up messages from their parents is, quote, difficult, but the strength of those families is very special. For 20 years, John Cena has been the biggest dream factory in entertainment, and most of it nobody saw. And Robert Downey Jr. pulled off a surprise that felt straight out of one of his movies. In 2015, he met a young boy born with a partially developed right arm. RDJ invited him to a hotel room, pulled out a big, heavy-duty case labeled Stark Industries. Inside was a fully functional 3D printed bionic arm, modeled after Tony Stark's gauntlet. The kid could actually wear it. Then Downey pulled out his own matching Iron Man gauntlet and the two of them fist-bumped arm to arm. You can see the kid's brain just short-circuiting. Iron Man, the actual Iron Man, just gave him a bionic arm. The single greatest superhero moment that never made it into a movie. But the surprise that made a grown man physically collapse? That one belongs to Dwayne Johnson. November 2021. At a screening of his film Red Notice, Johnson invited a Navy veteran named Oscar Rodriguez to the front of the theater. Oscar was a personal trainer who took care of his 75-year-old mother and cooked meals for domestic violence survivors. Johnson read off all of Oscar's good deeds, then walked him outside to the parking lot, handed him a card. The card said, "Thank you for your service, brother. Enjoy your new truck." It was Dwayne Johnson's personal custom Ford F-150 Raptor, his truck. And the moment Oscar realizes what's happening, he collapses, drops straight to his knees on the pavement, sobbing. And Johnson, this massive guy, just kneels next to him, hugs him, says quiet things to him. No punchline to this one, just a man who broke under the weight of someone being that generous. And if that had you feeling something, this next one got me. 2020. Peak pandemic. A 9-year-old named Aubrey was supposed to see Hamilton on Broadway for her birthday. Canceled because of COVID. Her mom tweeted about it. John Krasinski saw the tweet and hopped on Zoom with Aubrey for his show. Promised to fly her to New York when the pandemic ended. Then he brought his wife Emily Blunt onto the screen. Then Lin-Manuel Miranda joined. And then, one by one, the entire original Broadway cast of Hamilton logged on. All from their separate living rooms, they performed Alexander Hamilton live for this one 9-year-old. Aubrey's sitting there with her hands over her mouth, speechless, while a dozen Broadway legends sing her favorite song through a webcam during the worst time in recent history. That's how you turn lockdown into magic. But the surprises get heavier from here. One night at a packed arena in Manchester, 45,000 people, Ozzy Osbourne was mid-show when he noticed a sign in the crowd. It was held by the family of an 8-year-old girl named Lucy. Lucy had terminal bone cancer. It was her last wish to see him live. And Ozzy, the Prince of Darkness himself, a guy whose whole career is built on being scary, just stopped the entire show. 45,000 people. He invited Lucy up on stage, and this tiny girl, sick from chemo, stood in front of an arena while Ozzy held her hand and talked to her. The whole place went silent. No screaming, just quiet awe. And Lucy, even as sick as she was beaming. Man, Ozzy has seen everything, and he still stopped his own concert for one dying kid. And sometimes the surprise isn't what the celebrity does for the fan. It's what the fan does to the celebrity. Billie Eilish sat down for a meet and greet with a young fan named Emily. Billie is known for a cool, detached, almost emotionless public image. That's the whole brand. But Emily started talking to Billie with insane eloquence, told her what her music meant, how it had helped her, how she felt seen. And Billie tried to respond. She said, quote, "You may feel like right now you are alone, but there are hundreds of other people out there who also feel like they're alone. You're not." And then Billie just broke, started sobbing, full tears, looked at Emily and said, "I'm sorry, I love you." That's a fan breaking a pop star, not the other way around. And that brings us to the moment I promised you, the one I can't get through without tearing up. To tell this story, we have to go back to 2015. Kobe Bryant is retiring from the Lakers. Before one of his last games at the Staples Center, he presents someone with a championship banner. That someone is Taylor Swift. Swift had just sold out 5 straight nights at the Staples Center, breaking a record. And Kobe, who was a massive Swiftie, walked up to her in person and handed her the banner. That moment becomes one of those iconic crossover photos. NBA legend, biggest pop star alive, mutual respect. Fast forward to January 2020. Kobe Bryant dies in a helicopter crash, along with his 13-year-old daughter Gianna. It shakes the whole world. Taylor Swift loses one of her biggest celebrity champions. Kobe's family, his wife Vanessa, his 3 other daughters lose everything. Fast forward again. August 2023. Taylor Swift is in the middle of the Eras Tour, biggest tour in live music history, and every single night she has a tradition. During the song 22, she walks to the end of the stage, kneels down, and gives her black fedora to one specific pre-chosen kid in the crowd. Every show, different kid, it's her way of, quote, actually getting close with a fan. On the LA stop, Bianca Bryant is there, Kobe's 6-year-old daughter, with her mom Vanessa. And when 22 starts, Taylor walks to the edge of that stage, kneels down, pulls Bianca into a long, tight hug, whispers something to her. Nobody knows what she said. Then she takes the hat off her head and puts it on Bianca's. And Bianca, 6 years old, in a hat too big for her, smiling up at Taylor. Try to imagine what that moment meant. Not just to Bianca or to Vanessa, but to everyone in that arena who remembered that photo from 2015. Taylor was making sure Kobe's little girl knew she was still loved, still seen, still held on to. Man, that's the whole thing. That's why people still film these moments on their phones, still post them, still keep making videos like this. Because sometimes when the lights come up and the cameras are rolling, the most powerful people in the world choose to stop everything and show up for somebody who needed them. And that's all I got for you today. Hopefully that brightened your day a little bit. If it did, there's more where that came from. Take care of each other out there.